This morning, Senator Bernie Sanders is in the hospital and off the campaign trail, recovering from a heart procedure. The Vermont senator had 2 stents inserted in an artery after doctors found some kind of a blockage. The senator is staying on message. This is what he wrote, that he is feeling good and is, quote, lucky to have good health care. Joining us now, CNN chief medical correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Sanjay, talk to us about the procedure, the 2 stents, and what that tells you about the senator's heart.
Well, first of all, procedure is the right word as opposed to an operation. I think a lot of people hear a heart procedure, they think he had open heart surgery. This is a much less invasive type thing where you're actually putting a catheter into one of the arteries around the heart. I don't know if we have some animation to show this, but that stent then is sort of balloons up, opens up that blood vessel that is blocked, and then a titanium cage is placed in there to sort of hold the vessel open. Now, he had two that were put in. We don't know if it was 2 stents put into one artery or there were 2 arteries that were blocked, but it's typically, a procedure that doesn't take very long, an hour or so. Patients awake during this procedure. And, John, a lot of people have heard of this. This is a commonly done procedure, probably more than 1 million a year, for example, done in the United States. That's likely what he went through. We know that he was already up talking, even tweeting not that long after, which would be pretty typical as well, John.
Sanjay, it's interesting to look at what happened to the senator before he went into the hospital for this. So this is the moment at a campaign stop. And, he's 78 years old, but he's normally very active and energetic on the campaign trail. But in this moment, you see he takes off his jacket. So he's overheated. Mm-hmm. He took a sip of water and then he asks for a chair. He makes his way over. Oh, we might be looping this. But at some point you see him make his way over to a chair and he has to sit down for the remainder of this campaign stop. So, what do you see as a doctor when you look at this?
Okay.
Well, he was subsequently complaining of chest pain. You think about the heart like a big muscle and it's not getting enough blood flow. That hurts. And people become uncomfortable. They may become short of breath. They're obviously concerned. It doesn't necessarily mean that was a heart attack, meaning that heart muscle tissue actually died as a result. That wasn't getting enough blood flow and the muscle dies. We don't know if that happened. We also know that if you're not getting enough blood flow to a muscle and then you restore the blood flow, in this case through a stent, people typically feel better because that pain tends to go away. That's why the procedure is often done, is to relieve those sorts of symptoms. I think that the big question, and we don't know the answer to this right now, the campaign hasn't said one way or the other, is did he in fact have a heart attack or not? The way that you would tell that is you could actually tell through a blood test. There would be certain proteins in the blood you could measure that could tell whether someone's had a heart attack or not. It's relevant because it might affect his overall recovery. If he didn't have a heart attack, look, people can have this stenting procedure go home the next day, sometimes even the same day. If someone's had a heart attack, they probably want to observe longer, check his heart function. That might take a few days. But still not weeks that we're talking about for recovery for something like this.
And talk more about that, Sanjay, because we've seen Bernie Sanders in the campaign trail, an incredibly vigorous campaign schedule.
Right.
Do we know for sure if he can get back out there again? I've seen people who've had this procedure out there doing pretty much everything pretty quickly.
Yeah, look, this is, again, it's one of the most commonly done cardiac procedures. So you see a lot of these patients. And again, you think about the goals of the procedure. Someone is functioning, but they're not functioning well. They have chest pain if they are more active. The goal of the procedure is to basically restore someone back to their normal level of activity. Open up that blood flow to the muscle. In this case, the muscle is the heart. And people will feel better and typically actually be able to be more active than they were because they were probably limited to some extent by the fact that he was not getting enough blood flow in the first place. If he had a heart attack, though, then the question is, how well is the heart functioning? How well is the heart able to pump blood? My guess is it's still pretty well, considering how quickly he seems to already have recovered. He's up talking to friends and stuff. Wasn't on a breathing machine. They're not in an ICU, it doesn't seem. So all these things, I think, bode pretty well. I think but that'll be the big question sort of going forward.
Okay, Sanjay, thank you very much for getting up extra early out there for us to explain all of this.
All right, the president's anger and perhaps his